Shalom, shalom, guys. I'm here at Jamestown, which is the first official settlement of the English here. This was the original capital of Virginia, of course, but the first official settlement. Actually, the one before this was Roanoke, but Roanoke disappeared. It's very mysterious. I actually made a YouTube about Roanoke back in 2013. In any case, we're here at Jamestown, which is just a hop, skip, and a jump from Colonial Williamsburg. You know, it took 3 days, or 2 3/4 days, just to go through all of Colonial Williamsburg. But here we are at Jamestown on my third and final full day here in Virginia, because I have my Q conference tonight, and then of course I fly back to Juneau, Alaska tomorrow. But wanted to come to Jamestown. That's a church that was erected. Actually, that was built more recently. The site of the actual church was here. They're sort of reconstructing it, but that's a statue of John Smith, who would marry Pocahontas. He became the first governor here of Virginia. But this is the first settlement, Jamestown. So this is a kind of a replica, but we're actually standing at the actual site of the Jamestown settlement. So me and some subscribers came out here to enjoy this. It's a scale model. So again, just so you guys understand, this was the first settlement, but and this was the capital of Virginia. But they moved this capital to Williamsburg because there was just too many mosquitoes down here, and it wasn't practical anymore. So they started here in 1607, but by 1699, 1700, they moved up to Williamsburg, which is where I've spent the last 3 days, and that's where the capital of Virginia moved to. And of course, that's where, after they broke away from Britain in 1775 or whatever, of course, Patrick Henry became the first governor, and then Thomas Jefferson, who would later become the president of the United States, he became the second governor. But they eventually had to move the capital from Williamsburg, right around the outbreak of the Revolutionary War. They had to move that to Richmond. And then they even had to retreat from Richmond. But in any case, this is Jamestown, and we're just gonna walk along here and enjoy this beautiful. This is the actual fort where it stood, guys. I mean, this is as real as it gets when it comes to Jamestown. So, for example, this is the Chesapeake Bay, by the way.
This is right here. Chesapeake Bay was formed freshwater rivers, flowing into the ocean.
Okay, so this is freshwater that flows into the Atlantic Ocean. Here's a statue of Captain John Smith. Now, I'm a little upset with I think, the liberal propaganda and bias on this, because it says, when you read this, it talks about how John Smith's this arrogant guy and no one liked him and blah, blah, blah. Well, I don't think, they could describe President Trump that way. I hear liberals, he was arrogant and boastful man, often tactless and sometimes brutal. Well, I've heard liberals describe President Trump that way, so I'm kind of leery at how they're describing Captain John Smith here, because I had heard good things about him, that he was a devoted Christian. And in any case, he was born in 1580, died 1631. He was the first governor here in Virginia when the capital was here at Jamestown, settlement of Jamestown. So what we're gonna do? That's kind of a replica of what they would live in. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna explore Jamestown, and then there's a glass blower that operates here in the Jamestown site, and I love glass blowing, so I want to go see him. And then I've got to somehow get to the hotel to upload these videos. I made 3 more videos on our third day at Colonial Williamsburg that hopefully you guys have seen already. And then I got to upload this, and then I got to somehow get to my Q conference on time, because I was originally going to have the Q conference right here at the hotel I was staying here in Williamsburg, but the conference rooms were under construction, so I had to find another conference room, which is out in Richmond. So I got to make the hour drive, and it's going to be rush hour. So just pray that I can. Well, I guess by the time you guys see this, you won't be able to pray, because I'll already have been at the conference. But anyway, I got a lot of huge turnout for the Q conference, like 49 confirmed, I think, at this point. With more people keep texting me saying, "Hey, can I bring this friend or that friend?" Fort Pocahontas. So we may get the capacity of 70, which is the capacity of the conference room that I rented in Richmond. So anyway, this is a replica of the fort of where they had their first settlement. It took them 19 days to erect this Jamestown settlement because they were under attack by the Indians in Virginia. One thing to remember though, before Jamestown, when the Pilgrims first came over here and they celebrated the first Thanksgiving, that was a Sukkot. They actually celebrated that for Sukkot. They were keeping Sukkot, and in the Massachusetts Bay Colony in the 1600s, they had outlawed Christmas because they knew Christmas was pagan in origin. In fact, even by the late 1700s, when the Revolutionary War was being fought, even though it was no longer illegal to celebrate Christmas, most Americans didn't. It was still culturally acceptable not to do Christmas, passed on by their Pilgrim and Puritan forefathers, because they understood it was pagan. And that's why basically George Washington was able to win a decisive victory against the British, because the British were having orgies and drunken orgies and celebrating their pagan Christmas, while George Washington ambushed them. Well, it was the British and the British allies that they ambushed. So just a little factoid for you guys. All right. This is Daniel Lee, Jamestown, here on the eastern rim of the American continent, when I'm normally on the far northwestern rim of the American continent in Alaska. It's about as far away from Alaska I can get and still be the United States. Well, I guess Florida would be, but in any case, God bless you guys. Shalom, shalom.